This program is underwritten by the generous support of Stored Tech, technology solutions for computers, networks, and phone. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.
Firms deal only with prevention, the systems that block hackers and viruses. Stored Tech knows the root cause is actually good people doing bad things. So we offer a security training program which includes certifying all participants to show they understand the basics.
Technology solutions for computers, networks, and phones. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.
Good evening, everybody. I want to welcome you to the regular town board meeting. It's March 5th, 2018. Time is 7 p.m. Would you all please rise, remove your hats, and join Councilwoman Jennifer Switzer in saying the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, the first item on our agenda is we need to enter into the Board of Health to set a public hearing for a sewage disposal variance application. Is there a motion to move into the Board of Health?
I'll move it.
Moved by Councilman Medevere, seconded by Councilman Ferone. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. We're now into the Board of Health. The one and only item, is it going to be Karen?
Sure. This is a resolution setting public hearing on sewage disposal variance application for Tom and Terry Kubricki.
All right, this is to set the public hearing for this sewage disposal variance application by Tom and Terry Kubricki of 89 Pilot Knob Road. What they're asking for is I believe it's a pre-existing system, and since they are going to rebuild this house, it needs to be approved. It's a non-conforming system. In any event, the dry well is 94 feet from the existing well line instead of the required 150-foot setback. The second variance they're asking for is the septic tank is 8.5 feet from the westerly property line instead of the required 10-foot setback. The third variance is a dry well 4 feet from the westerly property line instead of the required 10-foot setback. And the fourth variance, continued use of the dry well, which is 6 foot in diameter and 4 foot deep with an absorption area of 755 feet instead of the minimum required 183 feet of absorption area. Property located on 89 Pilot Knob Road. So that public hearing for this will be March 19th if the town board approves setting the public hearing for March 19th. All right, any questions or thoughts? A motion to set the public hearing?
So moved.
Moved by Councilwoman Atherton.
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman Switzer. Roll call vote on setting the public hearing for March 19th, please.
Councilperson Atherton?
Yes.
Ferone?
Yes.
Switzer?
Yes.
Stroud?
Yes.
Medevere?
Yes.
All right, it's unanimous. We have the public hearing on the Tom and Terry Kubricki March 19th. Right here in this building, starting at 7 p.m. That's it for the Board of Health. Motion to move out of the Board of Health?
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Ferone.
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman Switzer. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're now out of the Board of Health. Next item on the agenda is a public hearing. And that public hearing is on, Karen?
It's on the final consolidation agreement for consolidation of West Queensbury Sanitary Sewer District and Cary Road Sanitary Sewer District.
All right. We have a new sewer district, already been formed, already been established. That's the Cary Road Sewer District. And then we have the West Queensbury Sanitary Sewer District, which is basically the Main Street area. We would like to consolidate both districts. There's a lot of advantages in consolidation, as you probably know. In the New York General Municipal Law, Article 17-A authorizes water and sewer districts to consolidate into combined districts if such combination shall be conducive to the public health, welfare, and convenience, and be of special benefits to the lands of the district. So whereas the West Queensbury Sanitary Sewer District, or the West Queensbury District, was duly established by the Queensbury Town Board in 2011 to serve the West Queensbury area from the city of Glens Falls line at Western and Thomas Streets to the area just past exit 18 of the Adirondack Northway on Corinth Road. And whereas the Cary Road Sanitary Sewer District was duly established by the Town Board in 2016 to serve the Cary Industrial Park and adjacent properties along Corinth Road, Cary Road, Silver Circle, Big Bay Road, and Big Boom Road, and connect to the West Queensbury District at 2 locations, but the improvements have not yet been constructed. And whereas there's potential environmental impacts of both of the West Queensbury District and the Cary Road District were subject to review pursuant to seeker at the time each district was established. So this consolidation of districts would create greater operating efficiencies, provide better service to the public that each serves, and generate cost savings by avoiding duplication in administrative services. So this is a resolution whereas the Town Board wishes to consolidate the West Queensbury District and the Cary Road District in accordance with General Municipal Law 17-A, and it is not an action for the purposes of seeker review. We will have a public hearing on this, and I will open the public hearing to anybody that would like to speak to this proposal, this resolution approving final consolidation agreement for the consolidation of West Queensbury Sanitary Sewer District and Cary Road Sanitary Sewer District. Anybody wish to speak to this? Yes, sir.
Good evening. For the record, my name is John Salvador. I noticed a sign-up sheet here tonight. Is that for this hearing? I think it would be a good idea if you did have a sign-up sheet for this hearing, for the record.
Okay, thank you.
Has the town received any written submissions for this public hearing as of this date?
Not that I'm aware of.
None at all. My comments this evening are further to my letter of January 26th, directed to this board, as well as Mr. Chris Harrington, wherein I express my concerns for effectuating a consolidation of the West Queensbury Sewer District with that of the Cary Road Sanitary Sewer District as early as April 1st of 2018. The reasons being, there is a great dissimilarity between the processing scheme for each of these 2 districts. The West Glens Falls District is a gravity flow system involving, not involving any pump stations. The Cary Road Sewer District is a low flow force main type of system involving 45 on-site individual pump stations. The estimated cost of these pump stations in the Cary Road Sewer District could be as high as $20,000 capital investment cost, $20,000 for each of the property owners when you consider the necessity to have an emergency power generator. In addition to that, there are maintenance costs, operating costs for this on-site pump station. The participants in the West Glens Falls system do not have this burden. The design and the permitting process of the Cary Road Sewer District is, as of this date, incomplete. We don't know what the final cost of the project is going to be. Everything in this consolidation agreement is based on estimates for the West Glens Falls, for the Cary Road Sewer District. And we don't know the relationship between the completion of the Cary Road Sewer District and the levying of the benefit tax for that district. The agreement, paragraph G on page 3 of the agreement, shows the reasoning for the ability to combine these two source systems. And they list the unit cost for the Cary Road Sewer District as compared to the unit cost for the West Glens Falls district as being somewhat the same. And they have done this by taking the actual cost, that is the cost we know of in the West Glens Falls district, since the district is up and operating and fully installed, and have applied estimated costs for the Cary Road Sewer District. In doing so, they have predicated the whole comparison on the basis of the existing uses of the land, whereby there are a total of 1,139 benefit units in that district. When they run the math, they get a cost of $145 as compared to $151 for West Glens Falls, and then they average the two to come up with a $147 for the combined. Looks like a very simple exercise. However, they state in the agreement that the West Glens Falls benefit tax benefit unit could be reduced markedly in the future if the project is built out as estimated. Now, when built out, there will be 2,399 benefit units. Running the math there, the benefit unit tax would only be $75. When you average the $75 with 145 of the West Glens Falls, you come up with a $110 average. This means that all the participants in the consolidated district would then be levied $110 per unit. This would work to benefit to a great deal the West Glens Falls people, to the detriment of those in the Cary Road Sewer District. Without consolidation, the Cary Road people would only pay $75 a unit, whereas after consolidation, they would pay $110. Now, this is in addition to the fact that the people in the Cary Road Sewer District have to bear the cost, the capital cost of their pump station, which could run to $20,000, including emergency power generator. I just don't know if the participants in that district are fully aware of what this consolidation could amount to. They could benefit very highly from the build-out, whereas if it's consolidated, they will not receive the corresponding benefit.
Okay, thank you. There was another hand up. Yes, sir.
Travis Whitehead. A couple minutes ago, Mr. Stroud mentioned that we have an established district in the Cary Road district. It might be established on paper. I'm not even sure of that because last time I looked, the DEC had not signed off on it. And that waste is going to a sewer plant that's under a consent order with the DEC for not being able to handle discharges when there's large rain events, etc. So I'm not even sure that it is established, but I know over the last year you have been working steadily to get in one piece after another to get this to the point where on paper it's approved. But this is the very first time that I can recall over the past year when they set this hearing that the idea of consolidating this district with another district was ever mentioned. And I wonder why over the past year this hadn't been mentioned, because it seems to me like it's a significant event. So my problem here is more with the process, and that if you had some ideas that this was going to happen, it should have been stated a year ago as we were talking and as we were trying to go forward, but it was not. So today it's thrown out there. I don't really know how it could benefit anybody in West Glens Falls. They have already retired about 2/3 of their debt. Why should they see brand new debt from a area across the way thrown at them? I don't know. I would suspect some of the problems are that this new district is not very well established in the fact that the people, the businesses, etc. there, it's largely vacant land, and trying to assess vacant land for an improvement is a real problem. You can't go ahead and assess somebody if it's vacant land, and this is a very short time for payback on this debt. 15 years. West Glens Falls was considerably longer. They're now being adjusted so they end about the same time. I'm not sure if that helps anybody, but if I were an owner there, I would sit on that property, that vacant property, for 15 years, so I wouldn't have to pay these benefit attachments. I mean, I would have to pay a small amount, but for vacant land, it's a very small amount compared to if it were occupied. So I would gain the benefit by letting it sit there fallow, wait it out, sell it, make my profit. I think a lot of these people are speculating on that land out there. The benefit types, I question, it just doesn't, a lot of it doesn't make sense. If you look at some of the assessments, and there are two different tables in the map plan and report that would give an estimate, and these are both estimates, of what individuals would be paying. You've got one guy there with 22 acres of land. He's got some billboards out front, one residential property on it, and he's going to be paying $4,000 a year. You have another adjoining property, which is commercial, but it's maybe a 5-acre footprint on a 33-acre lot, and he's going to be paying more than 10 times that amount for 15 years. And the difference is perhaps $500,000 over that 15 years. So I'm not sure that you're doing anything to help development by doing this. I would question when I have a question. I did send the question out earlier, and I did not hear back. Actually, I heard back from Terry Ross, and she said while it might sound like it's a question for her, it was not. It had to do with the assessments, the benefit assessments, and she said that would be Chris Harrington that would have to go ahead and speak about that, and I see he's in the back of the room, so I'm assuming he's going to come up and answer some of these questions afterwards. And the question I put out to Terry and to him the other day was why the big difference between residential and commercial on properties that are basically undeveloped, largely undeveloped. And there's even things in here that don't make sense. I mean, you get charged more per acre as the lot gets larger, which you would think you'd get a discount maybe after after so many acres, but in fact, the rate goes up by 50% after 10 acres on commercial property. And that's one reason why the 33-acre unit, the one that had been owned by Native Textiles and has been recently sold to Angiodynamics and some others, or I'm not sure it went to Angiodynamics, it went to some holding company who's now leasing it out to various people. But the way it's set up now, they're going to be paying a tremendous amount of money compared to a lot of their neighbors, and I'm not exactly sure why. But to wind this back up, I just want to get back to the beginning and basically ask the question is why over the past year was not this mentioned, this idea of consolidation mentioned, because I think that it would have been relevant. And I think it would have been relevant maybe to the series of steps that you took to get to this place here. And this is not the time to be throwing it at people, I think. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other member of the public would like to speak to this proposition before us? The consolidation of sewer districts. Seeing no member of the public, would Superintendent of Water, Chris Harrington, Director of Wastewater, please come forward? I'll close the public hearing.
Good evening. It's not often that the state actually gives us an opportunity to try to do something the right way without it becoming a real burden. I think they changed the consolidation laws back in 2010 to encourage districts to join together for a number of reasons. There was an article in the paper Saturday about Moreau. They have 6 water districts. It was mentioned there, the supervisor said, what an administrative nightmare it is. It is an administrative nightmare to do the back charge accounting, to have another public hearing for the benefit tax, to prep another O&M budget. I mean, these are all things that take time, that you try to do the back charge accounting, which sometimes is not perfect. So I do believe that helps in the convenience of how the 17A municipal law looks at. Another important thing we're talking about, I think the obvious thing, I think we all think, there are a lot of industrial parks in the area. Moreau has one that's not really taking off. There's a couple other ones out there. I do believe that the Exit 18 is going to grow. I think all of you really believe that. And I do think the people in West Queensbury who have paid a fairly high tax over the past 10 years, I think they should have the ability to take part in that growth with 2 districts that are connected. Both these districts do not have a pump station. They're low pressure systems. I know a lot is made of the grinder pumps, but it's a commercial area. I don't think that's a big deal. And the beautiful thing about grinder pumps is when you want your pumping, you're going to install it in. You're not going to pay for a pumping station that you're borrowing for and you're not using. So I really think grinder pumps are the fair way of building the system. Another thing we have to worry about too is when you have these smaller systems and there's a problem, if it's a big problem, it really hurts a small district. You may have to borrow for it. We've had that issues with one sewer district. So I think like everything else, the larger efficiencies you have, the more people you have in the system, it's like self-insurance. You're able to address issues that maybe not going to appear right now, but they could appear 10, 15 years down the road when the system does get older. Things do happen. So in looking at the big picture here, I think the state is encouraging consolidation. I think there are a lot of benefits to both the Cary Road Sewer District and the West Queensbury Sewer District. And you always hear about consolidation. Why don't school districts consolidate? Why don't towns consolidate? Why don't counties consolidate? So here we have an opportunity, I believe, to do it in an appropriate manner, in a way that I think is going to benefit both districts, and hope that the board does approve the consolidation agreement, because I think it benefits both districts without a question. Thank you.
Any questions on behalf of the board?
About to Travis' point, why is this coming now versus conversations prior to this?
I've always, every time there is a district, and I think we've always done it with the extensions for the past few years, it's always been where we extend the district and that we've consolidated it. Ever since the law came into effect, I mean, I know Bob before council, we've done this for several water district extensions and for several sewer district extensions. So this has always been part of and parcel of the process. And Bob?
Here for 20 of the last 22 years, and some of the first projects we worked on was his predecessor a couple back, Ralph Van Dusen, consolidating the various water districts. I forget how many I was involved with, but we started right then, and it's worked well for the water district. They have consolidation. When we do extensions, we consolidate the new extension into the district. I mean, that's a common thing.
And I say under the law that was passed in 2010, I believe we've done, there was a water district extension where the hotel is going to go. That was an extension and a consolidation. And I think on sewer, we might have done 2 or 3. So it's always a part and parcel of the process of, that's what we do. If we establish the extension and then we consolidate soon thereafter. And again, I think after this law, there's 3 or 4 that we've done under this statute, which is different than the one before, the old one.
And not only that, but you have 22 acres on Corinth Road, right next to exit 18, that now has sewer. How long do you think that's going to sit vacant? I don't think it's going to sit vacant very long at all, given the explosion of growth we've had in this area.
Yeah, I do think that, you know, Travis is speaking to something that can be addressed and, you know, at the public hearing for the benefit tax. That's the time, and maybe we should look at that property. It is an oddball property. I will give him that, and something that we can look at.
Now the DEC permit, I remember that held us up in the comptroller's office, wanted the DEC approval and go ahead. And we waited a while for that, but we finally got it.
Yeah, well, I like to, we always hear about the city and the CSO issues. I mean, everybody up and down the Hudson River has CSO issues. Glens Falls is not unique in that. If there was a real issue, the DEC would have issued a moratorium on building. No more moratorium has been issued. And lastly, the city, I think, has done a really good job at taking care of the consent order. I get alerts all the time about overflows. And ever since Ridge Road was constructed, separating the storm and water, I think I've gotten 1 alert since then. With regards to that, a lot went back and forth with Vinny Spadaro at DEC. And we had to get a letter from the city that said they have enough capacity. The city would not release that letter until DEC said that they were satisfied with the progress the city was making the consent order. So I met CT Mail today. We had a sketch plan. They feel that things are going very well. They don't see any issues. And they even mentioned that getting DEC approval, which is self-certification from the engineer, should not be an issue because it's already gone through several. We've been working this for 5 years. 5 years to put some pipes in the ground. How we ever built the Hoover Dam, I have no idea. How we sent a man to the moon, God knows. But really, this is March of 2013 is when we started this process. So I don't think DEC is going to be any issue because we made it through the comptroller, and the city has asked DEC over and over and over again, and they have not taken any issue with extending a sanitary sewer district.
Okay.
Bob, the process wouldn't have changed for the consolidation if we had started it any earlier. Is that correct? As far as you would still have to create.
This is the process since I think 2010.
Right. So I guess that's what I want to reiterate.
This is the process.
This is the process that you have to establish the district first before you can consolidate anything.
Yes.
And Section G was brought up, so I just want to read it so everything's accurate. The present benefit unit charge for the West Queensbury School District is $145.35 a unit. The anticipated benefit unit charge for the Cary Road District is expected to be $151.51 per unit. The proposed benefit unit change for the consolidated district will be $147 per unit for both sets of properties. This represents a slight increase for the property owners in West Queensbury District and a slight decrease for those in Cary Road District. And according to the map planner report, the West Queensbury District has a substantial amount of possible growth, which would result in substantially more properties sharing in the paying the costs of the consolidated district. If such growth happens, as is expected, the consolidated district would experience a significant decrease in benefit unit charge. That sounds to me like it's all good stuff.
I think it's all good stuff.
Okay, anything else for Chris?
The only other thing that I want to reiterate that Chris brought up is that how the benefit units are assessed is not how you typically assess a property. It's not the same formula and calculation that Terry uses. It's a whole other set of rules and regulations. And again, if there's issues, that can be addressed next fall when we're setting all the budgets for all of these districts.
Right, yeah, there's a separate hearing in middle of September for the benefit units. And Travis does point out that one property, that is an oddball. And I'm looking into that. And we can address that before the hearings we have.
Anything else for Chris? Thank you, Chris.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any last minute thoughts on behalf of the board? Any motion?
I'll move.
All right, moved by Councilman Switzer, second.
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilman Metabeer. Roll call vote on this, please. Karen?
Councilperson Switzer,
Yes.
Stroud,
Yes.
Medevere,
Yes.
Atherton,
Yes.
Arel.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Good luck, Sewer District. Okay, next is, we have 9 resolutions before us. And I go through and I describe each resolution to you, then I give you an opportunity to speak to it. But because of tonight, I thought it'd be more orderly to have you sign up to speak. So in reference to tonight's privilege of the floor allocated for those who wish to speak to tonight's proposed resolutions, if you wish to speak, please sign up. All right, speakers will be allowed to come forward to speak in the order in which they're registered to do so. We welcome public participation, your information and thoughts, but please limit them to 3 minutes. Please address the town board as a body and not to individual board members. Again, privilege of the floor is an opportunity for you to share your information and thoughts. It is not a forum for debate. Please observe the commonly accepted rules of courtesy, decorum, dignity, and good taste. Please avoid repetitive discussions. If you agree with someone who already spoke to this, just say that you agree with that particular person who spoke before. Speech that is offensive, obscene, abusive, threatening, profane, or slanderous will not be permitted. We ask the audience to also abide by the commonly accepted rules of courtesy, decorum, and good taste. Disruptions will not be permitted. Any discussions between audience members should be conducted outside the boardroom. Okay? So I'm going to go through, explain the 9 resolutions before this board tonight, describe them, and then give you an opportunity to speak to them. Now, if you wanted an opportunity to speak to any of the resolutions, again, the sign-up sheet is over on that table. Please sign up before I ask Councilwoman Switzer to go over and grab them, and that's after I get done describing them. Okay? Resolution 4.1. Karen?
Resolution authorizing promotion of Jeremy Squires from labor to heavy equipment operator in cemetery department.
All right, that's basically that resolution as the title gives it. 4.2,
Resolution authorizing hiring of Robert Medevere as temporary labor in Town Water Department to perform inspections for Short Pond Water District.
that's self-explanatory. 4.3,
Resolution authorizing application for funds from New York State Office of Children and Family Services.
we help to support the Warren County Youth Court, and we get reimbursed for part of that. So this is approval for application for reimbursement. 4.4,
Resolution reappointing Joan Jenkins to Board of Assessment Review.
okay, Joan is currently on the Board of Assessment Review. And our assessor really thinks Joan does a good job, so we'd like to keep her on that board. 4.5,
Resolution authorizing payments to North Queensbury and Queensbury Central Volunteer Fire Companies under current agreements.
okay, we're still working on their contract language. We're fine with the budget that's proposed, but we just want to make sure that the contract language is in accord with what New York State expects. So we're going to do monthly payments. Hopefully we'll get caught up with that soon. This is just to extend the ability for us to make monthly payments to the fire companies. 4.6,
Resolution authorizing advance payments to Bay Ridge, North Queensbury, and West Glens Falls Emergency Rescue Squads under current agreements.
yes, and that is a similar thing. We're still working with the squads to work on their contracts. So until we get those finalized, we'll still give them monthly payments to secure their financial stability. 4.7,
Resolution authorizing contract addendum with Solitude Lake Management regarding the 2018 Lake Management and Aquatic Vegetation installation for Glen Lake Aquatic Plant Growth Control District.
all right, this is another $900 to make sure that we have all the current names and addresses for people that are downstream of Glen Lake as we go to manage that lake this summer or this spring even. And so that extra $900 is to Solitude Lake Management to assure that the addresses are correct, accurate, and up to date. 4.8,
Resolution approving audit of bills March 6, 2018.
all right. This is, the bills need to be paid, approved by this board before they get paid, and this is a resolution to approve a warrant with a run date of March 1st, 2018, and a payment date of March 6th, totaling $821,067.77. Resolution 4.9,
Resolution authorizing engagement of SPC of Upstate New York, Inc. for provision of dog control services within the town of Queensbury.
okay. Well, this is the one I'm sure the majority of you are here to speak to, and that's fine. But we do believe that doing RFPs from time to time is a good thing, and this is an example of that. Let's make some things clear, though. The town is responsible for dog control in accord with Article 7, Agriculture and Markets Law. We do dog control. Licensing, rabies shot insurance. We do not. The town is not legally responsible for wildlife animal control, feline control, dog bites. Those are not the town municipality duties. The entities responsible for those are other entities, not the town. The town is strictly dog control. So we did an RFP, and our RFP is a request for proposals, specifically seeking dog control only services. And yes, the town board also posted a position for dog control officer position. In the matter of providing dog control services on behalf of the town board wanted to review and consider all possible arrangements. That included outsourcing the service or keeping it in-house. That is, hiring a dog control officer. So an RFP went out for any entity that wanted to submit a proposal and a posting for any person or persons who wish to offer their expertise in providing dog control services. All who submitted the outsourced proposals and the applications for dog control officer were shared with this town board. After detailed and due consideration of all the alternatives, it appeared that SPCA of Upstate New York was the preferred proposal. One reason was because they offered to do the town's dog control services and do so for $100,000 less than the other proposal. We only got two. The second reason was because they are well known for providing excellent dog control service. The city of Glens Falls uses them, and they have used dog control services of SPCA of Upstate New York for the past 2 decades. And both the city clerk, Bob Curtis, and Mayor Dan Hall have spoken highly of the services provided by the SPCA of Upstate New York. Bob Curtis used the word excellent to describe dog control services that SPCA of Upstate New York has provided to the city. Now, the RFP that went out, this is what we were looking for. Anybody making the proposals, full performance knowledge, skills, abilities, and personal characteristics. They needed to have a good knowledge of the laws and regulations dealing with the seizing, impounding, and destruction of stray and dangerous dogs. Good knowledge of the methods and procedures of handling dogs and domestic animals. Good knowledge of local geography, working knowledge of identification features, temperaments, and characteristics of the breeds and kinds of dogs found in domestic ownerships. Working knowledge of safety practices, including tranquilizing dogs, ability to meet and deal effectively with the public, ability to understand and carry out moderately complex oral and written instructions, ability to maintain records and repair reports, tact, courtesy, physical condition, commensurate with the demands of the position. So the services that they're going to provide the town have to be compliant with the New York State Agricultural Markets Law, Article 7, Town Code, Chapter 73. Okay? And it goes out to fill what forms they'll be required to fill in and submit and so forth. And so the hours of operations will be Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 p.m. The response will be immediate if necessary. Beyond hour operations and non-emergency response will occur as soon as possible in the next hours of operations day. Receives and answers complaints from the public regarding dog nuisances. Emergency calls, complaints will be responded to immediately and in terms of this contract, and see emergencies. If required by law, will enforce quarantine laws and orders applicable to dogs. Will attempt to locate dog owners. Tranquilize uncontrollable animals. If lawfully authorized to do so, will investigate reports of cruelty to dogs. Report sick or injured dogs to veterinarian for corrective action. And if lawfully authorized, will seize and impound stray and dangerous dogs. If not legally authorized to do so, will contact the appropriate agency to assure corrective action. And will assist in prosecuting violations. And they have to provide professional liability insurance, and it gives the details. It has to provide monthly reports to the town supervisor, town budget officer. And regards to impounding and housing of dogs, the agency will seize and impound, transport apprehended dogs that need impounding housing to the facility contracted by the town currently, that's Glens Falls Animal Hospital. And we prefer contracting with a facility that can provide for rabies shots if needed. and assure that the owner is aware of the need for current licensing at the town, if needed. Then they must file dog seizure and disposition reports in the town clerk's office. They notify and instruct the owners to pay the dog's impoundment housing fees at the town clerk's office here at the town. And then they are responsible for notifying Warren County Public Health Department for any bites, appropriate state and county authorities in case of nuisance, stray, sick, or disabled or wild animals. That's not the town's responsibility. And contact the New York State DEC in case of dead animals that exist along state, county, and town roadways or in public properties. Receive all calls the town receives regarding dog control issues. Be responsible for any and all obligations, responsibilities of the town relating to rabies investigation and reporting. Rabies bites or bites in general, which may or may not be rabbit related, is a county thing. So some people don't realize the town is just dog control. All the rest of that stuff other agencies take care of. So then I define emergency, we defined emergency here, and so forth. So the proposals went out, was advertised. We only got 2 in. One from SPCA of Warren County and one from the SPCA of Upstate New York. So that is basically the 9th resolution. So we have 9 resolutions before us, and we have people that have signed up.
And there's a second page, there's some signatures.
Okay. All right. First person to sign up, and we go in the order in which they signed up, is Janelle Jones.
Thank you. My name is Janelle Jones. I'm a Queensbury resident from Ward 1. For disclosure, I do work for public health and I've had experience working with both SPCA agencies. First, I would like to thank the Queensbury Board for going through the RFP process to offer choices for dog control services and for providing a choice for Queensbury taxpayers. In doing so, you potentially save Queensbury taxpayers $100,000 without losing any animal control services. Second, the town of Queensbury is obligated to provide dog control services. All other animal-related services, like Mr. Strauss said, are through other agencies that cover the town of Queensbury, citizens, and animals. Cats are handled by the Warren County SPCA right now through their contract with Warren County. I did review both RFPs that were posted on your website, and I did attend the 2 interviews at the February 15th workshop. I do support the town's decision to enter the contract with SPCA of Upstate New York, an accountable agency with a proven track record for dog control services in several towns over at least 15 years, maybe the 2 decades. I can't justify the difference of $100,000, especially when you've gone from animal control to dog control services in the past. So thank you for letting me share my opinion.
Okay, thank you. Patty Heslin.
Bear with me, I'm a newbie. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I am here as a town of Queensbury taxpayer. I have listened to all of the things that are required with different agencies and with the animal control. A lot of it plays in together. I can honestly tell you, I have seen so many amazing things with Warren County SPCA. You can't even begin to imagine unless you have had firsthand experience with these people. They do phenomenal work. I have had experience with Upstate SPCA. Animal control as far as cats and felines, my experience has been will call you back. I'm on a waiting list. I've been on it for 10 years for a cat. The cat is now dead. Okay. I get no responses back. They are full. You know, Warren County SPCA saves a lot of money. We get animals adopted out. They are forever rehoming animals that people don't claim that are wandering around the town of Queensbury that will cost a lot more money if animals are biting and running loose. There is no housing up at SPCA in upstate because there are animals being brought in and adopted out for double the fee. The veterinarians in the area, Glens Falls Animal Hospital, works with SPCA, Warren County SPCA, and the fees that they charge for adopting and rehoming animals is minimal. They take a loss. Okay, I understand funding is a big issue, but the work I've called upstate SPCA. I've had animals, pit bulls that have attacked. I get no response. They send Warren County Sheriff to do their job, okay? Or they'll call you back, and then there's no callbacks. I'm not trying to knock anybody because I think anybody that's trying to help with the animals is a wonderful thing. But I am a voice for the animals. And this is about the animals. If you've got to pay a little extra because somebody's doing their job and they're doing a damn good job, it's worth it in the end. I have witnessed dog attacks. I have witnessed Mr. Fitzgerald himself personally taking time of his own and working to train animals so that they don't have to be euthanized, which is going to cost more funding. I really hope that the board takes and thinks about the decision that they're about to make. The $80,000 that the director gets up there, I don't know what they do up there because you get no response.
Okay, thank you, Patty.
Okay, thank you.
Cynthia Harrigan?
Hello. I too am here to speak for Warren County SPCA. Dealing with looking at the RFP, I do wonder, upstate SPCA deals with Glens Falls currently, which has approximately 14,000 residents. Town of Queensbury has 28,000. So they're upping to 42,000. And I'm wondering how they are going to handle all of the calls that they're going to get. And I'm wondering who's going to suffer here? The animals are going to suffer. Those that don't have voices are going to suffer because you want to save $100,000. Well, I'm here to tell you that if a child gets bit because a dangerous dog is running around the town of Queensbury and the upstate SPCA doesn't answer their phone and it's not addressed, you are going to be looking at a heck of a lot more than $100,000 in payout. You essentially, $65,000 divided by 28,000 people, you are essentially saying that your constituents are worth $2.32 and keeping them safe. That's what you're breaking it down to, $2.32. And I bet your constituents appreciate that immensely. And no offense to upstate SPCA, they do great work. They bring in puppies from out of state all the time. What about ours? What about ours? Thank you.
Thank you.
John?
Yeah.
Are we limiting this to Queensbury residents, or is this open to any resident?
It's open to anybody.
Okay.
Kathleen Kelly?
Hi, Hi, Kathleen Kelly, Town of Queensbury resident. I've also had a business in the Town of Queensbury for over 20 years, and I volunteer for the Warren County SPCA. And what I want to know is, what about the dogs, the voices that can't speak? What's the plan for unclaimed and abused dogs in Queensbury? Who will rehab these dogs and adopt them out? It takes a lot of time and effort that Warren County SPCA puts into these animals and finds them loving homes. Will they be euthanized? Why is it that you're willing to hire someone who ships puppies here from out of state when we already have an overpopulation issue? Warren County SPCA has a 99% adoption rate for the past 3 years. I've witnessed these adoptions, and it's given the animals an opportunity to be in a loving home. You get what you pay for, and what you got from Warren County SPCA and Jim is prompt, professional, 24-hour, 7 days a week service. He's an asset to the patrol officers, and most important, the animals. We're not talking about bidding out for a roll of toilet paper or paper towels. We're talking about what is in the best interest for Queensbury and animal control. Thank you.
Thank you. Trudy Phillips.
Hi, I'm Trudy Phillips. I'm a resident of Queensbury, and I am an ER nurse, so I witnessed firsthand what dog bites do. In addition, several years ago, I was bit after hours. I was attacked by 2 pit bulls, and a police officer had to come to my house. And when he went down to address the situation, he too was bit. Our 2 medical bills were over $100,000. So when you're considering this as a money issue, dogs don't just bite between 9 and 5. They bite after that, and they need somebody trained to control them. 2 of your residents were hurt because there wasn't anybody there for that. And the money for 2 people was almost $100,000. I appreciate you reconsidering where your stance is on $100,000, because somebody could actually die. Thank you.
Thank you. Bradley Bell.
Hello. For the record, my name is Bradley Bell. I'm here to speak on behalf of SPCA, or for SPCA and with them. My question to you, the money is money. I can understand that. However, I asked the board, have you looked at Upstate SPCA's mission statement? Most importantly, and it's right on their website, verbatim, the organization does not receive federal, state, or local funding, but relies on individuals and businesses, shelter adoption fees, dues, gifts, bequests, and special events to fund its needs. So why is Upstate SPCA going after a local contract within their statement on their site says they will not take it? That's a question that you guys may and women may want to consider. Furthermore, do they have dedicated peace officers that are trained to take care of the situations outside of their normal business hours? Because not only is the situation to deal with the dogs, cats, other animals, but it could also involve the people as well in that situation. They get a call to go to an animal that's out of control. It could be the animal that's out of control, and it could be the people in that residence as well. Do they have responding vehicles that mark them as being SPCA so that someone shows up with a random vehicle in the driveway? Who knows? I can understand the money aspect very, very much so, but it is what cost is it going to be to the residents of Queensbury? That's all.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you much.
Kat Griffin.
Hello, Kathleen Griffin of Queensbury. I applaud what the last four people have said about how much is one person worth in terms of what you're talking about saving. 100,000, it sounds like a lot. But with the medical bills that the nurse just spoke of, and not being called back in any kind of reasonable amount of time from the upstate people, it's what you want to do is not going to be serving the residents of Queensbury, the town of Queensbury, very well at all. And I don't really understand where cats come into this equation. Queensbury does not want to deal with them, so what do people do with a question about cats or a problem with cats? Bueller? Anybody? No? Well, that's a very big issue. I work with feral communities of cats, and there's no place to go for help or for shelter or for somebody to come and trap. So I think that the budget saving of $100,000, you really need to think hard everything. And think about the cats. Oh, the cats. We have to think about the cats.
Okay. Thank you. Ken? Lonzo?
I am Ken Lonzo. I live in Glens Falls. I just want to share a story, a personal story. A friend of mine lived in a duplex. There was a dog problem. There are 3 dogs. All 3 were neglected. One of the 3 was abused. Multiple times called Glens Falls Police Department to have them come over and try and solve the problem. The biggest problem was constant barking, hours of barking. She lived in a duplex. It was offensive how much barking. Glens Falls police would come, and either they weren't home or they were home. They would talk to them outside. Their hands were tied. Finally, after numerous Glens Falls police calls, I said, who do we do? How do we resolve this? And they said, well, you should call Warren County SPCA. I called them and talked to somebody immediately, and they said that their hands were tied contractually for coming into Glens Falls for a dog call problem. I said, well, geez Louise, okay, where next? And they said the contract for that is upstate SPCA. I called them. This was at night. I got an answering machine. The dog pound was going crazy. I got an answering machine and left a message. 3 days later, I got a call back from them, and I said, well, at the moment, it's not a problem. The dogs are probably resting for the next round. The reply to me was, well, if it happens again, if the crazy hours of barking happens again, and those people are home, give us a call and we'll come. But our hours are, and they listed, and he said their hours. Not a happy ending to that. I believe them dogs are still in that house. One of the 3 is in a crate, 24/7. P-pad, I mean, it's bad. And nobody seems to be able to do anything about it. There was never a follow-up. My statement to you guys is, be smart about what you're buying. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Robin Barkenhagen?
Hi, Robin Barkenhagen, Glens Falls resident, but a member of the board of the Warren County SPCA. I became aware of the 2 different SPCAs after the incident on Maple Street, where Upstate had been called in but didn't respond, and Warren County SPCA had to come in and take care of the situation. I didn't know there was a difference. I didn't know there was two. Since then, I've studied more, and I have been asked to join the board. I just want to talk today about the integrity of Warren County SPCA and the board. I walked in there, I was shocked. There's Democrats, there's Republicans, and now there's a Green. And no one talked about politics, no one talked about anything but animals and how we can best serve the animals. I know about the contracts. They've asked me to be their PR spokesman from here on forward. And I'm learning more and more about how the operation works. But the one thing I can tell you is when they're called, they come. And you can ask Bud York that, because he said that to the Warren County board when it was a few weeks ago, actually a couple months ago, that this came up, and we renewed the contract for the next 6 months. When we're called, we show up. Doesn't matter when, it doesn't matter why. We're going to be there, and we're going to solve the problem. So I just want to, I hope you guys can reconsider this, and maybe, I understand $100,000 is a big difference, and we do have the contract now. Maybe you can reconsider and give us a chance to renegotiate this. But thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Jim Fitzgerald.
Hello, I'm Jim Fitzgerald, the Warren County SPCA. Thank you for having me here tonight. And I'll be quick. If this is my final bow out, it has been an absolute pleasure. This town is something amazing. And what I'm mostly proud of is the progress we made with law enforcement, consolidating efforts with other towns, and to the point where we consolidated so much with law enforcement that it steps our response up. And having full oversight by Under Sheriff Lamry and Sheriff York has stepped up our game completely. And I can tell you it's not easy. They expect everything from minute one to minute end. They want their answers. And it really is something else when you have the oversight of professionals like that from the Warren County Sheriff's Department. The other thing I'd kind of like to explain, you know, when we bid on this, I don't think the public knew we were in the middle of a 5-year contract that was actually could have been renewed for over $20,000 less. We're already in the middle of that. When you asked for the RFP, we listed things as they came in as what we could handle for you. When you see a company quote, you know, 160,000, or and then another one quote 60,000, there's something you got to look at business wise and say, well, is it because they can't do, or they can only do 25% of what this actual business can do? What is their training? What is their liability going on in people's yards? Are they animal control officers? Are they officially trained animal control officers? Longevity does not make you a great animal control officer. Honesty does. And I believe that we serve with honesty. And it is my fault a little bit, I'll be honest with you. I love what I do. I sat up here last year when you asked me to, John, and you couldn't even stop me from talking. I wanted to keep going on. Another thing I wanted to address is, for some reason, the firearms came up. Firearms were in your RFP. We can supply that, or we don't have to. But that was there. So that's why that was listed. You also asked for firearms when you put it out for the animal control position. That was in that. So we can provide that too. We don't have to, but this is why I'm a bit confused of how this process went down. And when we were in the middle of the process, somebody gave an answer and said, yeah, oh yeah, that's part of it. We'll do the legal part of it. That's not how an RFP is done. It's laid out. So thank you for having me up here. I know the buzzer went off, and it was really a pleasure serving you guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Jonathan?
Shaw, my handwriting's 11.
SCHO.
PF.
All right, please go ahead.
Good evening, members of the board. I'm the attorney for the Warren County SPCA. And I was here tonight and I was going to speak about the bid process and the possible violations of the general municipal law that we think may have been done there. But after hearing so many people in the public talk about their experiences with Warren County SPCA tonight, I'm not going to talk about that. I represent the bulk of animal rescues, SPCA type organizations in the Capital District, some quite beyond the Capital District. I'm known throughout New York State as the animal attorney. It's what I do. It's been my pleasure to work with the Warren County SPCA for about 2 years. I've been so impressed with the program that Jim and his team have put together. It is a model program for any animal control agency in the country. I use the processes and procedures they've developed. I try to impart those on my other clients because they're so good. They're so effective for the public. A program that is effective with animal control needs to have training, skills, and most importantly, dedication. All of those items are things that Jim and his team bring to the table every single day, 24/7. I understand animal control is not a popular budget item with towns. Frankly, you'd probably rather spend $6 a year than $60,000. But you have to understand, in the hundreds and hundreds of cases that I've handled personally involving animals, and most importantly, their owners, or people that are victims of animal bites, it's extremely, incredibly important to the person in that moment when they're in court, when they're accused of something. We want to have good due process, good investigations. On the other side, you want to have that for the victim of that bite. Seamless, professional approach to this is so important, and that's something that Warren County brings to the table. I can't emphasize it enough. Dog bites, injuries from those bites, especially to children, affect people for a lifetime. As so many people have mentioned tonight, $100,000 doesn't come close. I would also point out in the RFP from Upstate, it's not just $65,000. It's an additional $100 per call. Warren County SPCA, I think about 34-36% of their calls are after hours. At the $100 a pop for Upstate, which doesn't come into account of any hourly rate, that's probably an additional amount of money that brings the total cost of this contract up close to over $100,000, $120,000. So those are other factors to consider here. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thomas something or other. Thomas, would you spell your last name?
ORDWAY.
Thank you.
I'm going to apologize in advance. As I've been listening to other people talk, a lot of the stuff I have written down has already been stated. I know you asked that not to happen. It'll kill my flow if I don't do it, so I apologize. So thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm amazed by the decision made so hastily by the town and the change of service on animal control. Have costs of insurance, training, benefits, and salary been discussed? And if so, what are those figures? My personal interactions with Upstate have been less than subpar with both dogs I've adopted, coming home with parvo, and a runaround of unanswered phone calls and rescheduled mandatory vet visits and dates, delaying the adoptions. Second, as a local emergency responder in Upstate's response area, I've firsthand witnessed their emergency response, waiting almost an hour and having to use local law enforcement and fire services to restrain and confine a dog during a 911 call. Yet at the workshop, they discussed having an emergency number that would only be given to a select few. As a taxpayer, am I part of that select few? Again, at the workshop, you, the board, asked what qualifications Upstate SPCA had with the response of, "We have been doing this a long time." As a taxpayer, these statements are concerning, and as I expect services to match the amount of taxes I'm paying on multiple properties. Your job description requires the ability to carry a licensed firearm, but Upstate stated in the workshop that we aren't police, we don't need guns. I am personally very big on integrity. There is a difference in doing the right thing and doing the right thing when no one is looking. This is a mission statement taken directly from Upstate SPCA's website. The organization does not receive federal, state, or local funding, but relies on individuals, businesses, shelters, adoption fees, dues, gifts, bequests, and special events to fund needs. When in full well, they already contract with the city of Glens Falls and now are proposing the town of Queensbury. How can an agency who will have to testify in the court of law blatantly deceive those who donate in good faith? My final question is, why has this not gone to a public vote? With such a large amount of money and the public safety at risk, shouldn't this be the decision of the taxpayer and not just the board? In the end, as you do with your attorney, Mr. Strauss, you get what you pay for. Thank you.
Elizabeth Carbone. Okay, go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you for having me this evening. I'm also a Queensbury resident, and I am also the owner of Dog Logic LLC. I specialize in working with dangerous dogs and rehabilitating them. Besides that, I train veterinarians, ACO officers, other dog trainers on how to handle dangerous dogs in the field. I'm all about, if you know better, you do better. The reason I'm here this evening is because I know that many of you are new board members and you may not have the full facts of what you are voting on this evening, and that terrifies me. The decision that you are going to make this evening about pulling the contract from the SPCA, I will tell you, is going to put community members, people that pay the taxes here in our town, in harm's way. That's because the group you are thinking about bringing in, which I really, really hope you decline on, has no formal training. I work with these dogs day in and day out. They are dangerous in a home environment, let alone running at large. These could be your dogs or your children. These are just about 6 cases that I pulled from my files from the last 8 months of dogs that were gotten from the upstate SPCA that had to be euthanized. Money is being made by bringing dogs in from the South at 8 weeks of age. I have permission from these families to speak on these cases, and they are also willing to come and speak with you directly. Because the question that I have been asked for the last 6, 7 years now, why are they still in business? Lisa Camp, her and her husband were put in the hospital last week with stitches in both legs, hands, and arms due to their dog. Gotten from the Queensbury SPCA at 8 weeks of age. Don't know when the dog was shipped in. Cooper, I had to euthanize and hold this 6-month-old dog because he needed to be euthanized because he literally tried to take the owner's face off. Seth Berger, 17 stitches in the daughter's face. Gotten, Queensbury SPCA. Melissa Fallon, this is a very sad email. She couldn't get the help that she needed. She contacted the SPCA about the aggression. She was told to seek outside resources. The child that this dog bit is scarred for life. 11 staples in his face and skull. $100,000. I know I'm out of time. These are people's lives. You have an organization in place with such high level of training and resources available to you. It's not when this is going to happen. It's not if, it's going to be when. And I really, really suggest you have your ducks in a row to handle it when it does, because people are really, really done with dealing with the problems from this SPCA. Thank you.
John Lamory.
Good evening. Sean Lamry, Under Sheriff, Warren County.
I'm in my 30th year of law enforcement, and back when I was a patrol officer, quite often I had to deal with dangerous dogs, loose dogs, all types of animal complaints. And the one thing I can tell you that depending on which town you were in, often you got a different response depending who the ACO or the dog control officer was. As time has gone on, we're very fortunate that we have the Warren County SPCA. Their contract as a vendor for the County of Warren was put under the Sheriff's Office about a year ago. I can tell you that these people, bar none, are some of the best professionals that we've worked with. I can give you stories about other ACOs, other dog control officers in other townships that don't come out, they don't respond to their citizens. These people always come out. I've been there. I've been in other towns that they didn't even have the contract for, and when we execute a warrant in somebody's house and we have a dangerous dog in there, a scared dog, they come out, they take care of it. I'm not going to speak to how much it cost, but I'm also a resident of the town of Queensbury, and I'm also a dog owner and a dog lover. I'd like to think that upstate SPCA would provide the same level of service. But I can tell you, as the person who supervises our communication center for the county, that that's not the case. There have been occasions when they do not come out. They do not respond for service. They gave you their hours. I believe you said it's 8 to 5. What happens when it's 7 o'clock at night? They don't come out. Who's going to handle those calls for service? Because I can tell you, police officers are not the people that should be taking those calls. They're not equipped. They don't have the equipment. They don't have the training. Warren County SPCA is a highly trained group of professionals that come out any hour of the day when we need them. There was a case up north in one of our northern towns where they had a neglect case of a bull. They spent their own money to rent a U-Haul truck so they could haul that bull and get it down to where it could get help. I'm really concerned that if this is based on dollars alone, we all realize how much $100,000 are, but please look at all aspects of it. And Sheriff York feels the same. Thank you.
Thank you. Last person, Rachel Sieber.
Thank you. I'm sure tonight, this is probably the last place a lot of people want to be. I can speak for myself that I clearly would rather be 100 other places. But if you look at the room, it's packed. And coming to the board meetings over the last 4 years, I don't remember the last time this room was this packed. And yes, I'm FaceTime living. You have hundreds of people watching a live stream. You have 26 at the moment interacting with questions. They're concerned about this contract. But frankly, you just heard our undersheriff talk about the need for the assistance with law enforcement. According to the National Center for Victims of Crime, every 1.2 seconds, someone becomes a victim. And in that number, we do capture animal abuse, domestic violence. You're sending officers right now with the Warren County SPCA who are trained to respond, but you're sending them into some of the most dangerous situations that you possibly could. Ask any member of law enforcement that is here tonight. And yet you're going to change this contract. I guess my question becomes, what is the town responsible if someone is hurt? If someone from a new entity ends up being assaulted? I know this summer, walking door to door, I was bit by 3 different dogs in Queensbury. We have an issue, and we have an entity that's able to respond, and they're compassionate and they're professional, and frankly, we've heard a lot about dollars and cents tonight, but let me bring up a very friendly reminder. We are talking about $100,000, 28,000 people. That comes down to $3.50 per person, which we all know is half the cost of a sub sandwich. So I'm going to ask you tonight, as we start to talk about consolidation, you heard from your own water department director who stood here and said for years you've been trying to consolidate. But Supervisor Strau on the Warren County Board just 6 months ago talked about consolidation on a county-wide basis. Have you researched what pulling out from Warren County SPCA will do? You will not have that same opportunity as a shared service initiative in the county. You have other towns that also use the SPCA. Have you talked to those supervisors? Do you know what their interactions with this entity have been? I think you have a lot of unanswered questions here before you, and I certainly hope that none of this is political retribution. I hope that what we're doing here tonight in transparency would be to fully disclose any relationships that you've had with the Warren County Board, or perhaps any communication as well that could be seen negatively. I think that it's important that you as new board members are well aware of what's going on in front of you tonight, and you have a room full of people ready and willing to support the Warren County SPCA. And I hope that as a constituent, and I know I didn't state it, my name is Rachel Sieber and I am a resident in Queensbury. Thank you.
Mr. Strout, Supervisor Strout, if you don't mind. I did not get a chance to sign, but I think I have a few things I can add that are slightly different from what's been said before.
Come forward, please.
Thank you.
And for the record, state your name.
My name is Michael Wild. I'm a resident of Queensbury, and I'd like to address you and the board members. And not only as a resident of Queensbury, but also a member of the Board of Supervisors in Warren County. And I'm new also. And I know what it's like to be what I would refer to as drinking from a fire hose. There's so much that happens in the town, and there's so much that happens in the county that it's hard for a new person to really grasp everything. But one of the things that I've come to understand is that there's consequences. And Mrs. Sieber mentioned shared services. But if I can elaborate on that a little bit for the new supervisors, one of the initiatives of this in the state and the counties is to look for opportunities to share services across towns, across villages, across cities to save money. When you save money here in the town of Queensbury and saving $100,000, and I applaud you, we need to be looking for opportunities to save money. We also have to look at the big picture, because what you may be doing is shifting costs to the county. And the largest payers of taxes to the county are the members of Queensbury, the residents of Queensbury. So you may be saving it in your budget, but you don't really save the taxpayers any money, because these services are required, right? And not only are they required by law for the town, but our residents expect to have these services. So I guess the point that I'm really trying to make beyond the consequences is that I ask you to consider the consequences. If you need to move forward in a short-term contract, maybe 3 months, so we can take a look at how the services are, what's missing, and whether there's opportunities with other towns, villages, cities within the county, and that the county could help share some of these services and save us all some money. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
And good luck.
Thanks. Is there anybody else who didn't sign up on the sheet would still like to talk? Ma'am?
Hi, my name is Jamie Roberts. I'm a Queensbury resident. I'd like to speak to the lack of training within the upstate SPCA. I received a dog from there about 2 years ago, who I was informed would be around 30 pounds, very docile, very friendly to children. She was going to be living with my 3 younger cousins, who were at the time 10, 12, and 14. She was an aggressive dog, and my family's dropped well over $1,000 to try and control the temper problem that she had when we got her. She's now 75 pounds, well over the 30 that was told to us. And she's nowhere close to the breed that we were informed of. These people don't know the animals that they are working with. And to put the safety of Queensbury residents in their hands is an injustice and a negligence to us. My little cousins could have been hurt. My grandparents could have been hurt. And we were lucky enough that they weren't. And we were fortunate enough that we were able to spend the money to adjust her attitude and to get that dog under control. Things could have turned out so much differently, and they have for so many people. And I have just the question, Mr. Strow, and to the rest of the board, does Queensbury not deserve better than that? Do we not deserve to be safe? Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Last call. All right, seeing no other people wish to speak to the resolutions before us tonight. Town board discussions on any of the resolutions before us tonight? Anybody?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, Catherine?
You can go first.
Oh, George?
Ladies before gentlemen.
I think a lot of good points have been brought up this evening, and I think perhaps we should pull to 4.9 and have another discussion on this amongst ourselves.
We need to have a conversation with SPCA Upstate for some of the questions. I don't know if we want to do it tonight or if we table it and have a conversation with them in a workshop. How do you want to handle that?
Well, April 1st, the contract ends.
Understood, but it could be extended.
And if Upstate SPCA and this board decides to go with them, and you want to give them time to be active and up and running by April 1st, you're not giving them much time as it is. The next town board meeting is at the end of the month.
We can have a workshop.
The
Don't we have one?
we do, it's loaded. But let's just have a conversation.
Mhm.
George, you had a few things to say too.
I do, yeah, and had a sheet load of things, but a lot of folks have mentioned a lot of it already, so I'm not gonna repeat it. I was just looking at this from an analytical position, and I think Ms. Harrington and Ms. Sieber kind of touched on this a little bit, that, you know, Glens Falls has a geographical area about 3.9 square miles, and somebody mentioned a population of about 15,000. Queensbury has 64.81 square miles and a population of 28,000. I believe there was some documentation that also said that last year in 2017, we had about 700 dog calls. So even the night of the workshop, I did have some concerns about SPCA of Upstate relative to their resources. I mean, we've heard that they're doing a great job in Glens Falls, but maybe they're capable of doing a great job in 3.9 miles. I don't know if maybe they're overextending themselves for Queensbury. So I did have some concerns. I did mention to you earlier that if this did come to a vote, I was going to vote no on the resolution. So, but I'd be great if we could table this and discuss it further. I think it's an important decision we need to make. We need to make the right one.
Well, I think it's important too, and let's keep in mind that we put the RFP out in January, that we had a workshop, we had an interview, and that was some weeks ago for due deliberation.
But then we had the public comment period, and I think a lot of good points from you.
And I agree with that there were some very, valid points that do need to be discussed. I think that we have to have a conversation to make sure we're doing the right thing. I'm sorry, but, I do. I'm very concerned about some of these statements that were made, especially with response time. I know that when I spoke to the city, they were very pleased with Upstate SPCA's work, but with that said, we are dealing with 28,000 people here.
I think that Upstate also needs the opportunity to respond.
And I do, and that's why I wondered if we should do that now.
Yeah.
I think that there are some statements that were made that I think they need to respond to.
Right.
In their defense.
I think it's unfair of us to not allow them to respond to some of the comments that were made.
Either here or in a separate
meeting. Whatever would be more comfortable for them.
Yeah.
And maybe they can respond in front of a group of people who made the allegations against them.
Again, seeing some of the physical reactions of this crowd, I think it would be more fair for them for this to be done in a workshop.
Yes.
All right.
I think it would just deteriorate. I don't think that there would be.
then we'll have to schedule a workshop very soon because in either case, we have to give them time to,
To prepare.
to prepare.
Does
It's a practical thing, just, I mean, our contract expires or we extend it for a year. We could ask SPCA of Warren County if they would extend for a month while we work this out, or our contract, we put provisions in there saying that even if we renew for a year, either party can terminate on 90 days notice.
I was gonna get
But it
that.
seems to me asking for a month extension for them to continue while you work through this might be something you want to consider. Because the time it expires at the end of this month,
Does the
or
contract
it
provide a
continues.
month-to-month clause in there?
No, it doesn't.
It goes for a year, but we can give 90, either party can give 90 days notice. Both the current contract and the new contract put that provision in to give the town board some flexibility.
Do you wanna go 4.8, 4.1 to 8 and leave this aside?
Yes, it looks like we're gonna do. I'm just trying to work out the logistics. If we can't get to this in time, SPCA of Warren County is willing to extend a month?
I'd say if the town wants to submit us a written proposal, we'll certainly consider it.
All right.
So you're not willing just tonight to say you'll extend for 1 month on the current terms?
So after that'd be a board decision from the board, and then we would present that to the entire board for consideration.
I think we should have time. We won't have time to be able to address this.
Which does meet tomorrow.
Yeah, I think so too. We might have time without extending, if we can get in.
Okay.
And then vote on the next
So
board meeting.
why don't we
Well, the next board
figure out?
meeting would be too late. I think we'll have to vote on it on the workshop.
So we could figure out when we could meet next, and then
Yes.
if necessary, we can
We don't have
contact
to-
them.
we don't have to
and
do that
figure
right
out.
now.
And in the
Right.
meantime, I would love to hear from Warren County Board of Supervisors, because my understanding was that you were also putting these services out for an RFP. So if we're talking about consolidation shared services, I'd really like to know if that's the case and what the timeline is, because my understanding was that you were also looking to put this out for an RFP.
It's gonna take some time for all of that to come together, but I can put you in touch with, the
Judy, or Julie, I'm sorry, yeah.
Yeah, we can definitely have those conversations, we can try to arrange some things for even tomorrow, for that matter.
Because again, as residents of Warren County are also paying $100,000 through the contract with Warren County SPCA in Warren County. So $265,000 is a lot of money for Queensbury residents.
No. Your math.
You're gonna pull resolution 4.9? 200, if you live in Warren County, there's a $100,000 contract that county residents are paying, correct?
Well, let me clarify.
Supervisor, can I answer that, please?
Cats, Warren County, SPCA of Warren County has a contract with Warren County for cat feline control. They extended that for 6 months with the intent to do an RFP, but it's cats. So somebody brought up cats, and that is not a town responsibility. That is really not even a county's responsibility. It's a gray area, okay? Now you can go and yell at your state legislators, but that's the way the law is. Cats are a gray area. No municipality or entity, SPCA's, are probably the only one that can deal with that and do deal with it. Now, dangerous dogs, that can be a dog control responsibility, and it's also law enforcement. So if law enforcement is saying they don't have the training, then I think they should probably work on that. Barking. barking dogs is a problem. And it's not an easily solved problem. Dog bites. Dog bites is a county issue. If there is somebody with a dog bite, that gets reported to the county. It's the county's responsibility to do an initial inspection on the dog. Now, let me just tell you that the county shares with me all the dog bites that occur in the town of Queensbury. That the huge majority of those are the family dog bit somebody in the family. The huge majority of them. And yes, so we do the initial inspection. Does the dog appear rabid or any conditions or any form of rabies? In most cases, it's no. If yes, then the dog has to be quarantined separate from the home. If the dog has no appearances of rabies, then we do an in-house 10-day quarantine. And the county follows up after 10 days with an inspection of the dog, because if rabies is going to set in, it generally sets in within that 10-day period. And on a 10-day inspection, if the dog appears fine, everything's fine. All right, but again, dangerous dogs is town and law enforcement. Dog bites is county. Cats could be SPCA, but the county has a contract with, the SPCA of Warren County to do that. Barking dogs is an issue that's a huge problem. All right. Dog control, though, is the town's responsibility, and that's what we're working at. It appears the town board would like to have a little bit more time for deliberation and a chance to talk to SPCA of Upstate New York and have their response to some of the concerns that were brought up here. And we will probably have a workshop in the near future on this topic. If it appears that we can't do it within a timetable that is satisfactory to all, we may ask Warren County SPCA to give us a month extension on their contract. All right, so those are our options. For now, we will not deal with Resolution 4.9. However, the other 8 resolutions, 4.1, 4.2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, are before us tonight. Is there a motion to approve the first 8 resolutions?
12.2 or both?
Just for me.
Oh, okay. Roll call vote on 4.2. All right, so let's have the roll call vote on 4.2 first.
Councilperson. Yeah, you have to introduce that.
You want to clarify
right.
that we're pulling 4.9, right?
Correct, yeah. But we need an
So
introduction.
4.2, 4.9 pulled, the others were approved.
No, 4.2.
4.2 is a roll call vote.
Okay.
And is there a motion to approve 4.2?
So moved.
Moved by Councilwoman Atherton.
Second
by Councilman Ferone. Roll call vote on 4.2, please.
Councilperson Stroud,
Yes.
Medevere,
Abstain.
Atherton,
Yes.
Ferone,
Yes.
Switzer. Yes.
Okay. Now, on the remaining resolutions, that being 4.1, 4.3, 4.4, 4.5, 4.6, 4.7, or 4.8, is there a resolution, is there a motion to move those forward?
I'll introduce.
Moved by Councilman Medevere.
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilman Farrell. Roll call vote on those resolutions I just mentioned.
Councilpersons Medevere.
Yes.
Atherton.
Yes.
Ferone.
Yes.
And Switzer. Yes. And Stroud.
Yeah.
Long day.
Correspondence?
Yes, I have a supervisor's report from Community Development Building and Codes for December 2017 and January and February 2018 on file in the clerk's office.
Okay. That's it. Okay. Now, privilege of the floor. If there's anything that you would like to talk to the town board, you now have 4 minutes to do that. And I believe, Under Sheriff Lamoureux, you wanted to say something?
I just wanted to respond relative to what the contract with the county is and confirm that this covers cats.
Okay. Is there anything you wanted to speak to us?
I apologize if you couldn't hear me. I just wanted to confirm that the $100,000 that Mrs. Switzer was referring to is a contract for cats only. It has nothing to do with dogs.
Yeah, I think
And
make that clear.
for the record, Queensbury is one of 7 towns that currently contracts with Warren County SPCA. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else like to come before the board? Yes, sir. State your name.
Tom Orway again. Mrs. Switzer, you said that you think it's fair to have the opportunity for Upstate to come up and talk about what their proposal is. Wasn't that what the public session was for? They had an opportunity tonight to actually come up and talk, and they chose not to. So that's my question. How many opportunities does somebody need to prove what they can do?
I'm not saying, first of all, you all had the opportunity, you came with written statements.
Absolutely, and they've known about the meeting the same amount of time as we all have.
Okay, so my question is, where were you on February 15th?
I was sitting in the classroom with you.
So that's fine.
So I've been to
where
both
was everybody
meetings.
else? I
They've
don't
been
want
to both meetings, so I'm just wondering how many opportunities does somebody need?
I don't want to get into
Well,
an
yeah, no,
argument.
I'm just asking
I
if they had the
think
same
it's only-
opportunity.
Well, part of it is, I think you can tell by the crowd of people that are here.
Absolutely, there's a
that-
lot of support.
Right, there's a lot of support for Warren County SPCA, and I do think I don't think that they would be given the professional courtesy that they should have been given. There have already been giggles, there have already been laughs, there have already been comments made, and I don't think it's
So
fair.
will the next workshop be open to the public again?
All workshops are
Okay.
open to the public. It will be
And
published.
that'll be published as well? Perfect, I
Absolutely.
will see you then as well.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Mr. Wild?
Thank you. Again, Mike Wild, Queensbury. It's just a matter of procedure. You were talking about taking this to a workshop. Is that going to be open to the public? Will it be publicized? And will you leave the public hearing open so that there can be more comments once some more information is being brought out? Or are you planning on closing? Is the public hearing closed? We're good?
This is not a public hearing.
Okay.
And Bob, could you answer the question about a public vote on this? Aren't there only certain issues that can go to a public vote?
Correct. Well, first, was not a public hearing. The public hearing, the consolidation was a public hearing.
Okay.
That is something the statute says you have to hold a public hearing. It's a public comment period. People can talk about any of the resolutions, and a lot of people took advantage of that today. The question about voting on a particular thing, the people of the town of Queensbury, including myself, voted for people to get on this board. That is their job to make decisions. There are only certain things that you're allowed to put on referendum to let people have vote for. I am not aware of anything that would place this in that category.
The vote wasn't my question, by the way. Right. I understand what needs to be on
I
the
work
board.
for her. I work for the 5 of them.
I figured as long as we were getting into procedural issues and you brought up a
That's
public
fine.
hearing,
That's fine.
people need to understand, again, processes and procedures, maybe a little bit more education for the public so they understand. what
Exactly,
happens.
because my sense is there's still a lot of passion in the community that it
Right.
just makes sense to allow them to afford them the opportunity to speak again.
And that's, and honestly, as Mrs. Seaver said before, we would wish this many people would come on all of the issues and not just on dog control.
I feel the same way up at the county. Absolutely.
Yep.
I wish there was more involvement. But I will say that tomorrow I'll make a few calls. You'll be on my list also.
Yep.
I'll try to arrange something. I have to go out of town Wednesday, but I will try to set it up as best I can to keep things moving while I'm gone. So thank you all again.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
Thank you.
You know, Councilwoman Switzer, you bring up a good point. You hope that more people come and they are engaged, but people are discouraged and they're frustrated. And when you hold a workshop meeting on something that means so much for so many people in a room that holds 12, you get lower attendance. People understand that it's standing room only. People are listening from outside in the hallway. Nothing is even on TV8, nothing's FaceTime, nothing's YouTubed, it's on an old school recorder. That's how you record it and inform the public of what you're doing. So I think it's fair to say the public gets frustrated because they feel like one's being pulled over on them because they can't even get in the door, they can't find a seat, they can't hear what happens, and nothing is conveyed to them. Then you throw the complications of a last-minute workshop on the agenda. Ask the Post-Star, even at the editorial meetings, they've talked about how difficult it is to find out when the meetings are. The agenda gets switched, the times can be changed, and yet you asked the gentleman before me, where was he on that date? Well, that's a rare occurrence that you had somebody sitting in that room with you, which clearly it doesn't even resonate because you didn't remember seeing him there. And I'm not saying you should remember every single person, but what I'm saying is you should make it transparent and accessible to every single person that wants to go before you criticize them for not being there. I don't think that's fair, and I don't think it's what any of you were elected to do. So you can argue with me, I can stand here for the remaining of my 2.5 minutes and we can discuss it, but I would ask, I'm directing my comments to the entire board and not to one supervisor, that you hold your next workshop on an issue this important to the community in this room, where people can hear you, where it could be recorded, where people could feel free to ask questions, and not in a small, crowded, intimidating room where people can't always make it, especially if your meeting is set at 5 o'clock and you're coming out of work, or at 7 o'clock and it goes till 10:30 at night. People have kids, they have to put them to bed. There are other things that are going on, and to have this type of a crowd tonight, I seriously hope it resonates with each and every one of you that you are accountable to the people. Thank you.
Anybody else like to speak to the town board? Yes, ma'am.
Again, Patty Heslin. I am not here to knock either SPCAs. I'm sure that they all do the best to their ability. However, prior to this meeting, things were submitted, you requested things were sent in. I am not knocking them. If they are working for the animals, by all means, I'm sure that everybody's working to the best of their abilities. However, at least consider, one, is it overwhelming if they take on more? Okay, the upstate. Two, what is the benefit for the public and the safety? You have trained people that can do this. Take a look at all the avenues when you make your decisions, please, because, you know, I mean, if you can find things to make it all work, that'd be great. It's about the animals. It's about the safety of people. It's about your taxpayers being safety, their children being safe. You know, it's not necessarily about your family dog bites your kid in the face. In our neighborhood, we have stray pit bulls that come in all the time, and I myself have actually been able to approach them because I have some training, and I've been able to approach them. I've watched the SPCAs approach them and how they remove them for the benefit of the animal as well as the people involved. Just take in consideration. Don't make a quick decision on behalf of, well, these guys are down and these guys, and it's not. This is about the animals and the safety and the proper things that are done properly and right to keep everybody safe. So please take that into consideration. And I mean nothing, no ill will against Upstate, because I'm sure that they're doing the best to their ability. I worked as a shelter worker at Animal Protective Foundation, and I can tell you, it is the hardest job in the world to work with animals and have to decide who's being euthanized, see animals abused by people. You know, there should be more rights for the animals as well, as far as neglect by people. But if they're educated, it may not occur so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just had a question. How many of you have ever visited the Upstate Animal Shelter or stepped inside? Would you leave your dog there?
Sure.
I would.
So that surprises me, because my clients, the dogs that are coming out of there, I am gravely, gravely concerned about the level of care that is going to be offered. The Warren County SPCA, they are trained in how to handle diseases. They've all gone through programs on zoonotics and having to handle anything that happens to keep dogs safe and keep diseases contained. So again, training, very, very important, as well as the housing of these dogs. And if you haven't gone there, I suggest that you put that on your to-do list after your morning coffee tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Jacqueline Lorenz. Jacqueline Lorenz. I'm a resident of the town of Queensbury. My family's had a business here for over 30 years. I myself own a pit bull. A pit bull could be wonderful, and in a split second, it changes everything. And you definitely need a trained person, professional. You can't just, it's just a different breed. They're weird. So as a new board member of the SPCA of Warren County, I just hope that you reconsider.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
How high is the real property transfer law on your to-do list, Mr. Trout?
Mr. Salvador, I was going to get to typing the last of the editing today, but I prepared for this meeting instead. I will try and get to it tomorrow.
What is the next step?
The next step, I think, is to have a public hearing on it.
At a town board meeting?
Well, I want the new legal team to review it, and then, maybe for the new members, having that as a workshop for discussion would be good, before it came to the floor for public discussion. But it's in the last stages, I assure you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? Seeing none. Town board discussions. Let's start with you, Tony.
You good? Thanks, Ken.
Catherine?
No, I'm good too.
George?
Well, the new signal light went in on Aviation Road, and I haven't heard anybody say anything about it, so it must be working the way it's supposed to.
It is working the way it's supposed to.
I would just like to take a moment. I know there were a lot of things said tonight and directed at SPCA Upstate New York, and it's clearly you were standing there, and you've been very quiet, you've been very professional, and you're taking all this in, so I'll look forward to when we get together and you come back and answer some of the questions that were raised today, and we thank you for being there.
That's it, George?
That's it.
Jennifer?
Just want to congratulate the Queensbury Girls Nordic Ski Team, who became state champs last week at Gore Mountain. And along with them, fellow classmate Hunter Montgomery won a state title in the slalom at Bristol Mountain as well. Some good news maybe you can all take with you, and we can celebrate our youth and our community.
Well, anytime one of the local schools that's in the town of Queensbury, like Lake George, Queensbury, we take the New York State champions team, and we offer a plaque and a little ceremony here at the town. So that's forthcoming. The plaque's already underway.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else?
Nope, that's all I have.
All right. May 5th. Why is May 5th, or should May 5th be so important to you?
Cinco de Mayo.
Tire recycle day.
All right. It's Cinco de Mayo. It's my birthday. There's two good reasons. But probably more important to you is that it is Household Tire Recycling Day. So if you've got any tires in your garage, here's what you can do with them. Saturday, May 5th, between 8:30 a.m. and 12 p.m. at the Warren County DPW on 4028 Main Street, Warrensburg. Limit 10 tires though. You can turn in your tires. No tires on rims, no cut tires, has to be a complete tire, not a half tire. No salad tires. In other words, they can't be filled with concrete and other material. no excessive dirt, mud, or stones, no tractor, loader, or heavy equipment tires, no tires taller than a 36-inch yardstick. I suppose that's redundant, huh? And so for more information, contact Warren County Soil and Water Conservation District. Okay, so I wanted to make sure that was announced. Real quick, it's only been a week. Supervisors report to town board and community. Tuesday, following the town board meeting, February 27th, we had an EDC meeting, and then I went to a regional sewer study meeting. Wednesday the 28th, we did county meetings. We did interviews for county supervisor at our Warren County Safe and Quality Bicycle meeting. And then the American Legion did something beautiful over in the Salvation Army building in the city. There were a few of those who survived World War II and are still living to tell their stories. Kathy Mastrangelo, Suzanne Canavan, Clara Rudnick, Henry Gurney, Emile Lindstrand were some of the people that were there to share their World War II stories. It was fantastic. March 1st, Thursday, we had a SAVE meeting, Save Lake George meeting. We talked about the trying reducing salt, boat inspections, trying to keep away terrestrial invasive species as well. Such as the aldehyde, which is moving northward and killing the hemlock trees. And then we had a Birdsall Road. There's an issue, and we had a meeting on that. We did a site visit on that. On March 2nd, I was in here working. Sunday, I was in here working. Today, I was in here working, and today we have a town board meeting. So that is the supervisor's report. You like them all that short, don't you? All right. Anything more for the good of the order? All right, I'd like to thank Joel Barlow, our TV cameraman from Look TV, and our sponsors, especially Stored Tech. Thank you, Bob Pafner. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Caroline. And thank you, board. And thank you, public, for coming and sharing your thoughts with us. We appreciate that. So, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved. By and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.
This program is underwritten by the generous support of Stored Tech, technology solutions for computers, networks, and phone. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.
Firms deal only with prevention, the systems that block hackers and viruses. Stored Tech knows the root cause is actually good people doing bad things. So we offer a security training program which includes certifying all participants to show they understand the basics.
Technology solutions for computers, networks, and phones. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.